let's get to the other game that wasn't supposed to be in prime time on Monday, even though 5 o'clock really isn't. It was supposed to be the Thursday night game because the Bills played the Titans last Tuesday because of a COVID rescheduling. Here we are with a Thursday night game that was in that 5 o'clock to 8 o'clock window Eastern on a Monday. And yeesh. The Bills, Chris, and it really felt good to be right about something last night, to be right about both games last night after that Sunday bloodbath where I had to go back and reevaluate my limited prognostication skills. But, the Chiefs got knocked wobbly by a team that they took lightly. The Bills, I think, got knocked into thinking maybe we're not that good. And after last night, especially on defense, I think it's fair to say the Bills aren't that good.
Well, no, they're not. Mike, I've been saying this to you, that their defense has got issues. It's got big-time issues. They can't rush the passer. They can't stop the run. Therefore, they are screwed, as what you saw last night. And, the bigger picture is, first off, a few things you said there. Yeah, the Bills aren't ready for prime time. They're not on the level of the Tennessee Titans or the Kansas City Chiefs. That's very obvious. No doubt about that. And then, you talk about some of what the Chiefs did. It seemed like the focus was there, but man, that was really cool to see the Chiefs and them taking that approach last night. If they can bring that element to their offense to where you really have to worry about that run game and Clyde Edwards-Helaire and all of that to go along with everything else we know their offense can do, I mean, they'll be unstoppable. I've never seen Andy Reid be that patient that way. That was very, very impressive from his standpoint. And, yeah, the Bills, Josh Allen. I think Josh Allen was extra nervous with Patrick Mahomes and that whole, talk and everything like that. And it showed. It showed in their play, and they're sloppy, and they're not on the level of the Super Bowl champion Kansas City Chiefs. No way.
And here's my real question moving forward. Have the Chiefs unlocked some next level to their offense where they're back to the 70s and they're going to run the ball, and there were 26 carries by Edwards-Helaire. Mahomes ran it 10 times. Darrell Williams got involved with 6 carries. They got Le'Veon Bell coming. Or was it just looking at the film saying, man, their run defense stinks. Let's just run it down their throats all night long until they stop us?
Well, I mean, I think it is a little of that. First off, I do think, to your first question, right, I think it's something Kansas City realizes they need to have there for just in case. Wait, are teams going to keep playing us with these deep zones like the Raiders with the deep zones and, way down the field and man-to-man coverage and 8 people in coverage and only 3-man rushes? So I think they realize teams might play us like that. We can't let them get away with it. We got to start to grow that part of our offense and the underneath pass game and things like that. So Andy Reid's smart. I think he realized that. I can't remember what the second part or where I was going to go there with the rest of my convo there.
How much of it is the Bills? The Bills' defense is so bad, let's just run it.
Well, yes, and I think the Bills' defense, last week we saw they had to sell out to stop the run. They let up easy touchdown passes to Ryan Tannehill. I think that, if Ryan Tannehill doesn't have short fields last week, they're going to throw for big yards. The Bills are compromised. They have to sell out in one area when an offense is really talented to stop that one area. And last night, what did they do? They went, damn, we're going to play deep. We're going to drop back. We can't play man-to-man, and we're going to play deep zones. And therefore, that's where Andy Reid crushed them right there because, okay, you want to do that. They moved them around up front. There's not any good defensive linemen on the Bills, and they have real issues on that side of the ball.
What do you think happened to the Bills' defense this year? Where has the decline come from?
Well, they're like Jerry Hughes and the pass rush have not really shown itself at all. You see, they benched like Trent Murphy, a guy who they got in free agency 2 years ago. They made him inactive for the game. He's been non-existent on the field. Ed Oliver, their top 10 pick from the 2019 draft, has been underwhelming to this point of his career. And then they lost some role players and have a few injuries there right now that's hurting them as well. But Mike, what makes it even worse is they don't play man-to-man, and they don't have man-to-man corners. They can't ask Tre'Davious White and Josh Norman to lock down people and get on an island. That's not what they do. They play zone. So they're really in a tough spot that way, and that's why when you see Josh Allen after the game go, I can't play like that, or because they can't win unless the offense and Josh Allen kind of set the pace of the football game and put the pressure on the other team therefore they have to kind of play out of their comfort zone. And I think that's what we've become apparent the last 2 weeks with the Buffalo Bills.
And I think all those long drives by the Chiefs just make it harder for Josh Allen, and you press a little bit more when you finally get on the field. One of the formulas we talk about for taking the steam out of a good offense, keep it on the sideline, drinking Gatorade, as you say, and I think there's a lot more urgency and anxiety when they finally get on the field. No urgency or anxiety, though, for the Chiefs offense. So let's hear from Clyde Edwards-Helaire and Patrick Mahomes on this new-look, uncharacteristic Andy Reid running game.
I think this is the first time you guys have run for more than you've thrown for. What was it like resisting the temptation to take shots downfield and stuff like that?
Yeah, it was definitely different. I mean, I had a few of those RPOs called, and I had to tell myself not to throw it, just keep handing that thing off. I mean, Clyde was running well, O-line was blocking well, and I mean, I just want to win. I don't care how that's done.
You have days like this, things just seem, like to part like the Red Sea, and that's what the O-line did. And ultimately, I just put my head down and run, and then when it's time to make a guy miss or time to run through a guy, I do my job. That fires up the O-line, and I'm doing my 1-11. So ultimately, it got us the win.
I just wonder how much the looming arrival of Le'Veon Bell put a red-hot poker on Clyde Edwards-Helaire, because we look back at his performances last week. He set the narrative week 1 when he has that big night, and since then he has not been great. And now here comes Le'Veon Bell, and Clyde Edwards-Helaire looks better than he ever has. And that's good. Hey, maybe it's good to have that 1-2 punch, a little competition in-house, you better go out there and not be complacent and keep going because we got somebody else we'll put in if you're not on it tonight.
I think so. I mean, you can put them both on the field. You can both split them out at receiver. They're going to be able to do a lot of different things. One, is a little bit more speed and make you miss based. Le'Veon Bell, of course, has that make you miss factor, but he's a big human being, and he can run you over. He's certainly a lot bigger than Clyde Edwards-Helaire. I mean, Le'Veon Bell is one of those guys, when you see him in person, you go, whoa, you're a little bigger than I thought you were. I didn't realize you were this tall and, quite this long and everything like that way. So that could be a tremendous combination. And the other thing, and I think, Troy Aikman and Joe Buck kind of talked about this last night. I mean, damn, they can't kill Clyde Edwards-Helaire before the season ends. He can't do everything. He can't catch every screen and run the ball every time. So I think they're aware of that too, to where they don't want to ruin the guy's career before he gets to year 3 and just, grinding him in the ground. But man, good for him. I mean, that was an unbelievable performance by him. Andy Reid, I just can't say enough about him. I mean, it's 20 years. We've never seen him do that, of being one of the best play callers there is. And I just think it shows he's willing to grow, and he's starting to go, man, my team's special, and I'm just going to do whatever I got to do this week to win this game. And I think he's starting to get some of that about him, and I think it's cool to see because the Chiefs are really, really damn good.
Mahomes mentioned the run-pass option plays, and number 1 for Reid to even include the run as an option, and number 2 for Mahomes to become patient enough.
Right.
I remember last year going into the 2019 season after he'd won the MVP award, I can't remember in what setting I talked to him, but there was the question about what do you do to counter the defenses, and he said, I know what's going to happen now. They're going to be deep, they're going to be back, and I'm going to have to be more patient. I have to find a way to be more patient. Well, this is the ultimate test of patience when you just hand the ball off. When you know that if you didn't hand the ball off, would still have a pretty good chance of making something happen through the air, but you're taking the easier, more conservative, more sure thing, and the run is there, so hand it off and go. And it's just part of the overall development and maturity of Patrick Mahomes as a quarterback.
Agreed. Well, I mean, he's just not a greedy guy. He's not. He just never seems to be in any sense of, as a football player or as a human being. He just went, well, why try to jam a RPO slant in between some safety and a linebacker when we're just ripping off 5 and 6 yards at a time? It's the maturity of him, and again, it's why he doesn't throw interceptions a lot. I mean, he knows how to play the position, let alone he has this rare, freaky talent, and that's amazing. It really is. But the Chiefs, I think we talked about this a few weeks ago, just the physicality of their football team, once again, it kind of gets overlooked because of the high-flying Mahomes aspect. But their defense steamrolled the Bills' offensive line. Josh Allen was in trouble all night from the get-go. he was always having to throw balls off the back of his foot and do that. Chris Jones is a force, and then their ability to just play smash mouth on the offensive line. Wow. I mean, if they can get that going, man, they're going to be unstoppable.
Yeah, and look, just to put one last pin in it, Patrick Mahomes' performance, it wasn't off the charts, but incredibly efficient. 26 attempts, 21 completions, 225 yards, 2 touchdowns, no picks. And Tyreek Hill, 3 catches for 20 yards. Usually that's not a good formula for the Chiefs, but last night it worked well. And as you said, it worked well because of the defense, and they constantly harassed Josh Allen, a.k.a. your boy Blue. Here he is.
Yeah.
Here he is after the game talking about what went wrong for his team.
This team can't afford to have me play poorly. Early on, just not being as accurate with the ball as I should have been, making the right reads, making the right throws. And we turned it on a little too late there, obviously. But yeah, 16 and 17 points is not going to cut it in this league. But it didn't matter who we played tonight. If that's who we play, or if that's how we play, we're going to struggle to win games. So it is what it is right now. We'll learn from this. I'm obviously super frustrated with myself and how I performed tonight, and I can't do that to this team. So, I got to be better. I will be better.
We always get caught up in the new season and fascinated by the big performances, and we're ready to anoint because we're excited.
Yeah.
And Josh Allen, out of the gates, first 4 games, MVP candidate, not now, not after what happened last Tuesday night in Tennessee and then last night at home against the Kansas City Chiefs. I mean, we've seen the decline, and last night 14 completions on 27 attempts, 122 yards, 2 touchdowns, a pick, 73.4 passer rating. Look at the first 4 weeks, Chris, versus the last 2. He went from averaging 331.5 yards per game to 192.5.
Yeah.
And that's one of the big reasons why this team is where it currently is. You're throwing a bad defense. I mean, look at the touchdowns.
That's
15
right.
total touchdowns down to 4 turnovers, and 2 just in the last 2 games. I mean, this is a guy who needs to have that defense, needs to have some rhythm on offense, needs a running game, whatever the Chiefs did to get Le'Veon Bell,
yeah,
and the Bills wanted him.
They wanted him.
Sean McDermott was willing to say, we're interested.
Right.
They could have used him because they just can't find a running game this year. Anytime your quarterback's your leading rusher, that's not a good thing.
Well, that's what I mean. He's the most dangerous rusher on their team every week. I mean, statistically, he's second in the season for rushing on the football team, but that's, sacks, things like that to get taken away. I mean, he's the danger. What you just explained is the problem. I mean, Josh Allen is the team. I mean, that's what we're saying. Josh Allen's got to make it all go. The defense stinks. It's all about the passing game and him making it work. And, like he said, I mean, he took it on the chest there. He didn't play well enough early enough to just kind of get them in a rhythm, get them going that way. But it was going to be tough sledding either way. It was. It's a lot on his shoulders to make big throws, always avoiding pressure in the pocket, doing things like that. And he certainly missed some throws early where you go, I don't know. But I think the Bills also probably got to realize something last night too. They tried to kind of play a de facto we're going to kind of try to control the clock and do that a little bit as well because we don't want to get in a shootout. And Bills, you got to get in a shootout. You don't have any other way you're going to win games. They got their strength of their team is their ability to put pressure on people through Josh Allen in the passing game. So, it was not his best night. He's going to have to hear about the accuracy thing again, which, hey, I didn't necessarily like that Joe Buck and Troy Aikman made such a big thing about that again. They went back to 3 years ago. Like, when are we going to get over it? The fact is right now he's a 70% thrower. He's a 67% thrower and probably throwing the ball in the air more than anybody else in football as far as intended air yards. I mean, they uncork it every play. So I just felt like that was a little disservice to him as well because, we're going to talk about his scouting report when he came out of college and where I had him, and I'm going to try to justify that. There's bias there. I didn't like that part of the show or the start of the game. It bothered me. What was Baker Mayfield's and Sam Darnold's scouting report then? If you're going to talk kind of trash Josh Allen to start the game and try to justify somehow, some way why he's doing better. As you could tell, that kind of ticked me off. And Troy Aikman's like my favorite quarterback ever, other than Phil Simms.
I thought Aaron Rodgers was.
No, well, as like as a kid when I was rooting, you know what I mean? Like when my dad retired, Troy took the mantle of like the guy I was like, okay, this is my new, substitute father here. where I'm invested in number 8, the Dallas Cowboys, and I became a Cowboy fan there through like my middle school, high school years because of Troy Aikman.
And here's the thing.
Yeah.
It was a very common narrative. Troy
Yes.
just happened to be the one who was talking about it last night. And I think anytime we see a regression back to where we
Right.
thought a guy was going to be, you do feel like, okay, maybe I was right all along. Because, we ultimately want to be right, just like you want to be right about Lamar Jackson and you want to be right about Patrick Mahomes, as you were, and DK Metcalf.
But
and
I've
Chase
been
Claypool.
wrong too. There's been lots I've been wrong about, So
right.
Right.
But when you're wrong, and then all of a sudden the guy starts playing,
maybe
like
you're
you
right.
thought he was going to play,
Right.
That's when it's human nature to come out and say those things. So
Yeah.
I don't really have a problem with it.
Yeah.
It's up to Josh Allen to play better because he knows what people are going to say if he completes 50% of his passes. There's that guy from Wyoming. Don't blame it on your receivers. Don't blame it on the weather. Blame it on you. Now, here's the thing, and I know that there will be people say you're making too much of it. I don't care. I'm going to say it. Last night we saw for the first time the bad body language Stephon Diggs, and that's a warning sign for the Buffalo Bills. We saw it late in the game. You saw him sashaying back to the line of scrimmage when time was of the essence. I mean, what the hell was he? Did you see that?
Yeah.
He's like walking back. The clock's ticking, Stephon, but we know that this happens from time to time. It's the OBJ factor. When I'm involved or we're winning, it's fine. When I'm not involved and we're losing, it's not fine. And last night, after what happened last Tuesday night in Tennessee, and at 2 primetime games, and to have that happen, that's where we see him kind of slip back into the guy the Vikings had to manage very carefully, Chris.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, I saw what you saw. You're right. And like a little disappointing for a guy like Stephon Diggs, who we see at the Super Bowl every year, and he's so charismatic.
Love him.
We love him.
Awesome.
He's one of our favorite guys. He gets it. He's very charismatic. He's funny. He doesn't take himself too seriously. But hey, it's a very common thing with top-end receivers in football. And, yes, I hope we don't see a whole lot of that. We saw the Bills lose their cool in a lot of ways last night with personal fouls and things like that. They were getting bullied, for lack of a better phrase. And they didn't know what to do. So they got a little, on defense upset and chippy and things like that because they were being pushed around and dominated. And Sean McDermott and his team, they really haven't been bullied like that since he's been the head coach there and everything there. And I think it shows them generally, hey, Buffalo, you're good, you're dangerous, but there's another class of football that you guys got to get up to before you're playing with the big boys like the Tennessee Titans and the Chiefs, who I think we both agree are 2 of the better teams in football, if not one of the top 2 or 3.
And I think it makes it even harder to have the season start the way it did and to start thinking, hey, we're pretty good. You know what? The Patriots down, we're up. We could be like the Patriots have been. Let's go out and do it. And then you get smacked down by 2 of the elite teams in the conference, and you really have to go back and do some soul searching. They get and you know what? The short week, Sunday at the Jets coming up. This is the don't lose 2 games, right?
Yes.
Don't lose 2 games.
Right. Like your Minnesota Vikings. Don't let Seattle beat you twice. Right.
Exactly.
Right.
Don't take a winless team lightly. Don't think you're just checking the box. Matt Casey, the consummate Jets fan, is saying it ain't happening.
Don't worry.
Yeah. But still, be on guard because the Patriots are on the back end.
Yeah.
This is the perfect trap game. The only problem is this really, they can't really set the cheese on the trap in New York with the Jets, but this is one where you got 6 days, 5 days now to turn it around and get ready for the Jets, and then the Patriots, and then the Seahawks. They could get smacked down a couple more times here coming up, Chris. And you know what? Going to play Arizona, is not going to be a picnic. They got some tough games coming up still, and there's a different vibe around this team. And they better process it quickly and figure out who they are and what their ceiling is and get there. And it may just be that they're at their ceiling and they're just not ready to take the next step.
Yeah, that's really cool, our new little thing there. You see that? The bingo thing? Look, you said something about the schedule.
No.
See, there it is.
What did I say? Nah, that's look. Listen, I strenuously object because talking about the schedule contextualizes a season.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
Okay, whatever you say. But yes, you're right. They got some games coming up to where, Buffalo better buckle down because, yes, the Patriots twice, the Seahawks, the 49ers, the Steelers, the Dolphins one more time. We know they're a better football team than what they played earlier this year, so they're not out of the woods. I still look at them and think they're a playoff caliber football team because of that offense. But I do think the last 2 weeks where maybe you might have thought, ooh, could they make some sort of crazy run and be a Super Bowl contender? That has dashed away for sure in the last 2 weeks by the way their defense has looked and just how much pressure is on the offense in some of these big games for them to come through and kind of make it all happen.
One last point from last night's game, and this shows how much harder it is now to play defense in the National Football League. And I don't know if you saw what we posted over the weekend. There was audio from Lamar Jackson from the Week 5 game against the Bengals where he got touched at the sideline, fell down, drew a flag, and he was mic'd up, admitting he flopped. Admitting he flopped and got a free 15 yards. Well, what do we see Patrick Mahomes do now? He dances around the edge of the sideline. If you touch him, he will flop because there's a benefit. We're not criticizing. If you can pick up 15 yards of field position, however you do it, do it. But the problem is the flag comes out. So what do you do when the guy's dancing around on the sideline? Because you know if you hit him, he's going to fall down and you may get flagged. And, it's not like the 70s where Jack Tatum's going to say, the hell with it, I'm going to run over there and I'm going to flatten this guy. So the quarterbacks have a hell of an advantage. We see it time and again where they get near the sidelines and the defenses become paralyzed because they know if I touch him and he goes down, I'm getting flagged. I don't know what to do. How do I do this? Where do I go? Is he stopping? Is he starting?
Right.
And we saw it, and he was just like back and forward. And I've never seen the zigzagging along the sideline the way Mahomes did it last night. But that's where we now are, because if you do touch him and he goes down, you have to worry about giving up 15 yards.
No doubt. Mike, you've been calling this for 2 years now, how quarterbacks do this. And we've seen it a number of times over the last 2 years where quarterbacks give the
I'm aware.
Yeah, I'm
aware.
Yeah, right. I mean, or give they give the old okey doke where I'm about to just kind of jog out of bounds and they realize everybody pulls up and then they run up the sidelines for like 8 or 10 more yards. I mean,
Matt Ryan, Week 1 last year,
right?
Falcons-Vikings. That was the first time I noticed it and said, "Hey, this is BS."
BS.
There's a gentleman's agreement here. We're letting you run out of bounds,
right?
And you're gonna act like you're stopping and take off for 10 more yards. Well, hey, it's still football. It's still football.
It's very
right. You can go, but that's a problem. You go hit the guy, and he doesn't get treated like a running back. That's where the game needs to kind of figure out how it's going to handle this. Right now, it's way too far on the side of protecting the quarterbacks.
Agreed.
And the defense is at a huge disadvantage.
Agreed. And especially now with the quarterbacks just becoming more and more mobile, like Mahomes and, of course, Lamar Jackson's out of this world. But we're seeing guys, it doesn't matter who it is. I mean, Ryan Tannehill, he could turn the corner and run for a 30-yard touchdown. To me, it is. It's BS that way. It's too hard to play defense in the league right now, let alone, at times – they're not allowed to hit people or do anything. The offense lowers their head, and the defense just tries to get lower to make the tackle, and they call the penalty on the defense. But I do think that brings up a real point. And, I feel like we kind of saw that in the AFC Championship game run with Mahomes, where he got close to the sideline.
Yes, we did.
Right?
Yes, we did.
Yeah.
Yes, you're trying to drag me back into that. Yes,
yes.
But it just shows you where football is, and everybody is obsessed with the quarterbacks. And don't you touch the quarterbacks? Well, then don't run. Don't run if you don't want the quarterbacks to be touched. And if you run, be like Kyler Murray, and we're going to talk about that game coming up, where you're aware that I better get down because if I don't, somebody's going to hit me.
Mahomes,
if you're going to run the ball, you're a fair target.
No, and you're right. And there's such a point of just stressing it to the referees from the NFL too, to where they're way overprotective. And Mike, I know that Lamar Jackson play you're talking about. Last week, Mahomes flopped twice on the sideline against the Raiders, and one of them he got a 15-yard penalty. The guy basically just put his arm on him to oh, wait, I'm running out of bounds, and you're right there. Let me just put my arm on your shoulder. And he felt it, and he knew it, and he was about a yard out of bounds, and he acted like he got pushed, and he threw his arms in the air, and they got 15 yards. Check it out. It's in the fourth quarter. He does it right then. So it is going to become a thing, and who is going to be that team? Who's going to be that team that
that's you,
unleashes?
Not me.
Unleashes their guys a little bit
about
and just says,
I'm done.
I know. Well, I'll say it.
Over.
But who's it going to be?
You go ahead.
Go
ahead.
Who's it going to be that defense where the coach goes, if he's close to the sideline, crush him. Act like he's dead Derrick Henry. If he's down by the 1 yard line, it's me. I know. If he's down by the 1 yard line, crush them. Like, bring the pain. There's your chance to hit them, do those type of things. I know, and I'm not saying to do it to any particular player, but at some point these defenses are going to get sick of this crap and try to make a point a little bit of not letting these free yards to these running quarterbacks all the time.
Well, and I could see the mindset, because if we're going to get 15 yards anyway,
right,
for touching the guy
Take
and he
your
falls
lick.
down,
right,
let's make it worth it.
Right.
I mean, and this is 20 years of understanding how these guys think, how they talk. Remember the audio, that cartoonish over-the-top crap from Greg Williams in the locker room the night before the Saints-49ers playoff game nearly a decade ago. That's bubbling around out there, and I just think the defenders don't know what to do, and there is going to be a coach. I agree with you. Whether it's Patrick Mahomes, Lamar Jackson, Kyler Murray, Ryan Tannehill, Matt Ryan, whoever, there's going to be a coach that says, we're done with this.
Yeah.
Right? We need some clarity here. And also, haven't they in other sports adjusted to flopping by putting in penalties for flopping?
Yeah,
I remember in
basketball
hockey they did that in the early 90s.
Yeah.
Right? And in soccer, don't they do that? Like if you're taking a dive trying to draw a penalty and it's obvious, don't they penalize you?
Give you a yellow card,
Shouldn't there be something like that if quarterbacks are going to take flops and admit that they're flopping?
I'd like it. I'd like them to do something like that. Yeah. I mean, to like what you said, it's a little bit of a below the belt cheap shot to the rest of football, because you're right. There's a little bit of a gentleman's agreement. Hey, you're going out of bounds. We know you're the special quarterback. We won't do it. But when they get like egg in their face all the time where, okay, I slowed down because the coaches always tell me don't get them a free 15, and then they're running up for a free 15 anyways because I slowed down and I didn't think they were going to, all of a sudden do the old okey doke. It is a little bit of bull crap, but we'll see. My money's on the Ravens.
I don't know.
The
Ravens doing
They're
it?
going to teach
but
another
but
yeah,
they've got,
they're
but
going to
they've
go,
got
so
the
what? We
quarterback.
run anyways. Our guys used to it.
No, but that would be the ultimate irony, and I think I'm using it properly. If their quarterback who openly bragged about flopping, if they're the team that ends up deciding we're done with this, we're going to go ahead and take, if we're going to get 15 yards, we're going to make it worth it. But look, we're not advocating it. We're just saying this is football, and once you become a runner, you forfeit all of the protections that quarterbacks have. And there's this extra protection that the officials are providing to the quarterbacks that isn't fair to the defense. It isn't fair to the game. And it's going too far when guys like Lamar Jackson admit that they intentionally flopped to draw a 15-yard penalty. And we see it with guys like Patrick Mahomes. There's something out of whack. And the question is, how does it get back into balance? That's all we're saying.
Right.
We're not advocating anything. It's football. And if you're going to run the ball, this is part of the risk you assume.
That's right.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.